The dictator rushes about either through technology forums or to Ural factories producing killing machines. He plans to kill more and more. From now on, war for him is life. Only she guarantees him the continuation of power, which cannot be lost. Surf Volodin from the podium repeats the formula, Putin is Russia. And he's not lying. Indeed, every inhabitant of the cave is an adherent of the imperial sect of maniacs. The world is watching the result of a unique experiment. How a machine created for both terror and suppression by the Bolsheviks came to power 24 years ago, and to what denominator it brought the territory and its population. If earlier the State Security Committee was, nevertheless, controlled by the leading and directing line of the CPSU, and could not do whatever it wanted, then since 2000, having received absolute power, the office has turned the state system itself into a repressive monolith for destruction and absorption all living things. He could not stop at Chechnya or Georgia. And he won't stop in Ukraine either, he will go further to the west. Now, horrified by these results of the monster's development, the collective West assessed the real prospects for the future and began to prepare for war. So far, officials are not telling the European population the whole truth, but only part of it. A collision with a monster is inevitable, and it can happen in. But here variations of soft lies begin. They call 3 years, 5 years, 8 and even 10. In fact, Putin doesn't have 10 years. And in 5 years, the infrastructure will be so worn out that it will turn into ruins that cannot be fought on. So, from a year to 3. From the beginning of 2025, Estonia will build 1,000 bunkers on the border with the Russian Federation and Belarus. Rheinmetall factories are running at full capacity, and Germany promises to supply Ukraine with 2 to 3 times more artillery shells this year than in 2023. Putin demands victories. His organisms crawl in Avdiivka like cockroaches. They are killed, torn to shreds, but they still crawl. In the same way, they will crawl across Lithuania when they are ordered to cut through the Suwalki corridor, or towards Chisinau when the rat orders them to liberate Russian Moldova. Poland is ready to increase its army to 300,000 soldiers. And this is logical. Together with Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, it will be the first to take the blow. Against the backdrop of general preparations for the inevitable, Putin is trying to shake faith in NATO's main support point, the United States. Here, Republicans, carrying out Trump's will, continue to delay making a positive decision on assistance to Ukraine. In Europe, Orban, who was pushed by 26 EU countries to allocate €50 billion to Ukraine, has now become an obstacle to the adoption of the 13th EU sanctions package against Russia. For several months, Putin's emissaries tried to persuade the Americans to agree to peace and to seat Zelensky at the negotiating table with the rat, who at this stage could be satisfied with the already captured territories, take a breath, and with renewed vigor launch a frontal attack on the hated NATO. But the United States rejected this option, and now Putin hopes that his last bet, Trump, will win. This guy is mired in courts and scandals. Even his own wife Melanie refused to participate in the election red-haired clownery, but he will play to the last, because it's either the presidency or prison. The Russian monster is flying at full speed towards its own death. For him, the last blow is an existential act of retribution. The offender is the collective West, which did not succumb to the blackmail and scam of crime, and it must answer for humiliation. For throwing him out of world institutions, introducing sanctions and erasing neo-Bolsheviks from the future of civilization. The largest bank in Turkey began to close accounts of Russians, and now even Uzbekistan is ready to join financial sanctions against the cave. There is something to growl about and jump on the walls. The only achievement since May 2023, when the Russians captured Bakhmut, is that today they managed to take the ruins of Avdiivka. The Ukrainian armed forces are withdrawing their troops from the destroyed city. The Russian world is zigging on the remains. The rat celebrates his victory, satisfied that he managed to scare the Americans and force Biden to order the start of negotiations with the Kremlin on the issue of placing nuclear weapons in space. Those arrogant Yankees will still talk to the kid one way or another. The inevitability of the coming war, as the final choice of the system, is also indicated by the announcement of the sudden death of Alexei Navalny, as reported on Friday, February 16 by the FSIN Department for the Yarmalo-Nenets Autonomous Okrug. Allegedly, Navalny felt ill after the walk and lost consciousness. Resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful, and doctors pronounced him dead. By removing Navalny and his sectarians from the board, the system signals that the games of opposition are over. The Queen was forced to declare her favorite agent dead. Special opposition is no longer needed. Only Putin remains on the board. Next, complete caulking of the zombie farm and disconnection from the outside world. No Google, no YouTube. Watch Vkontakte and the TV box. You will quickly understand why you should die. The world is preparing for a decisive blow to the red zombie farm. This boil had been brewing for a long time after the defeat in the Cold War. For him, the war in Ukraine is a regional showdown with the goal of returning what is originally imperial, but the battle with Europe is a desire to gain the status of the dominant empire on the continent. At this stage it will be destroyed.